After learning how to create a polygon, you will learn how to draw polylines. So we have learned about lines in the previous session. So by using the line tool, you can create individual line segment and draw geometries using individual line segment. But polyline is a very interesting geometry. So there are a lot of things that we can do with polyline. Poly means many and line is, you know, that it is a segment joining 2 points. So this is a geometry which is a single entity, unlike a line. So let's see the difference between line and a polyline first. So when you draw a geometry using a line tool, so I say L, so it is something that you are creating by individual line segment. So you can see that these all are individual line segment. But unlike the line tool that you create a geometry, so if you create it with the help of a polyline, so the tool is over here in the home tab. So you see that once you create it, so it is basically, when you create, there is no difference between the shape of the geometry, but it is a single entity. So it has a lot of relevance in architecture and civil drafting. So there are a lot of things that can be drawn, like a site plan or a lot line or a parcel or a contour. It is very helpful in drawing contours. In fact, I use it personally to draw terrains, the contours or the tin or something. So there are various applications of polyline when we will be seeing that a closed entity where we can find out the area, or we want to basically draft a single entity of many lines. So then how do we create the polylines? Now, first thing that I want to teach you today before going with the polyline, can I convert line into a polyline? The answer is yes. So let's say if I have a line, in fact, so I want to create it into a polyline. That means I want to create all the lines into a single entity. So what I do, I use a command called join. So join command will join all the vertex of the lines. These are the vertex areas where the connections are there, and create it into a single entity. So how do I do? So I come over here and I say join. So join is a tool. So then I select the source or multiple object to join at once. So I select it, keep on selecting the object, and then I convert these object into a polyline. Now this is a polyline. Now let's say, what is the situation where the join command will not work? Let's say if I have disconnected lines. So if there is a disconnect, so if I go for a join command, right? So let's see whether it will work or not. So it says that select object to join one find. So it will not join. So it should be connected from end to end. Now coming back to the polyline tool. So how do you invoke the tool? You can invoke this tool either from the ribbon, that is the home tab, the draw panel, and the polyline tool creates a 2D polyline. So why a 2D polyline? So here there are two types of polylines in CAD. One is a 2D polyline and the other is a 3D polyline. So what is the difference? The 2D polylines, you can only draft the geometry in X and Y axis. You cannot make it into a Z axis. So in the 3D polyline, you can have all the three coordinates X, Y, Z. So we'll be learning 3D polyline later. It has an immense application where we can use it in the civil drafting or an architectural drafting. So let us call it off now. So let's go with the 2D polyline. So when we create this, use this tool, it is a 2D polyline. So it says a 2D polyline is a connected sequence of segments that created as a single planar object. You can create straight lines, segments, arc segments, or combination of the two. Yes. Now let's see how to work into it. So polyline tool is invoked. So here it says that polyline, p line, specify start point. Or you can write it over here with the command pl, the polyline command will start. Or you can go to the draw panel. So you can come here and down over here you have this polyline. Now you can see there's a 3D polyline also. So you can say invoke the same tool from the menu bar. And from the toolbar, the newly introduced that I have told you now, there is an icon over here of the polyline. You can click it. It is here. So now, so I will recommend the use of the tools using the command panel. So you go to the PL command, and now let's start learning how to use the polyline. So it says start point. So like the line tool, we say 1, 1. So we start drawing a polyline. So just zooming out. So the first point is there. Now there are several options. So now keep on going with the next point. So I say @2, 0. So a line segment will be created. Then I say @0, 3. So another line segment is created. Then I say let's say -1, 0. And then I say go for a close command. So here I can see that a single object is created. So in the properties, what are the things that I can get more out of it? Let's check. So how do I get the properties? Select the polyline, closed polyline, go to properties, and you can see that what you are getting. You can get the area of the closed entity. Now this is something that is very interesting, which don't get in case of line. You can get the perimeter, the entire perimeter of this plot. So it can be a plot of a building, it can be a plot of a residence, it can be elevation of a building, it can be anything. But if you want to calculate the area of this closed entity, you should be making it a polyline. So now the benefit is that you can get the area of it, and you can get the length of it, the perimeter. That means the sum of the length of all the sides. Now let's say if I have a polyline which is not closed. So I go for PL tool, and let's say I create it randomly, and see. So still it is giving you a particular area, right? So we will talk about how it works into it. But thing is that, so now if you go with let's say the polyline tool, let's go with the other options. Let's say I have the point, I click anywhere. For the start point I click anywhere, and for the next point I don't go for any next point right now. So I will go for an option. So here the first option is an arc. So let's see, after creating certain points I'll go for an arc. So let's say next point is @3, 0, and then I go with @0, 4. Now here I have an requirement to create an arc. So I haven't touched the arc tool, but let's do it here. So you click on the arc. So there are various options to create arc. So I will touch these options later on. I will teach you arc, then we can do it better. But for the time being, you can take any of the options. Let's say I take this second point option. So I click on a point over here, and then it talks about the other point. So I have created an arc with the 3 points. Now it will keep on creating an arc until and unless you change the mode to a line option. So to change the mode to a line option, so there are options: angle, center, close, direction, half width, line. So click on the line option. Now you are here at the line option. So you can do the line option over here, and then see for close. So again you can click on it and see the area and the length. So here it goes like the arc option. So we will do more of the arc option. So let's do it randomly, some of them. Like for example, if I go with the polyline option, right, and I click on the first point anywhere, let's say, and I go for an arc option. So here we have the angle of the arc. So let's say, to give you a brief explanation, the angle of the arc is the angle of the sector, the angle that the arc, the start and the end point, is making with the center of the arc. So here if I say angle is, let's say, 90 degree. So you have an arc. So now you can see that it is going anti-clockwise direction, right? So 90 degree. So it says specify endpoint of the arc, or hold control to switch direction, or center or radius. So it gives you more option to create, right? So you can basically now click, or you can click on anywhere to end the arc and start creating more arcs. but now you want to create a line. So you create a line, right? So now here you have this line option, and with this line option you can go and create more line options, and then you have this option called half width. So we will do about half width and length and width, 3 options we will do. So if you go with close, it will get closed. So because in the next sessions we will be doing the arc tool, so I'll be covering the arc option of the polyline when we will be doing the arc tool, so you will have a better understanding about it. So now going ahead, let's say I start with a point. Let's say again I'm taking a specific point, let's say 1,1. Now half width is something that the thickness of the polyline. So remember, we have done in the rectangle, we have done option with the width. So here we have the half width. That means if we given half width of 0.5, so let's say to invoke the half width, click on the half width. Now it will say starting point and ending point of the half width. So this is the starting vertex and this is the ending vertex. At the start of the polyline, let's say you give a half width of, let's say 0.5, and at the 0.5, that means if you give a half width of 0.5, the total width of the polyline would be 1. And in the end, let's say if you give a half width of 1, so what will happen? That means at the start of the polyline, which is this, and end wherever you click, there will be a different width. So what would be the width? Half width is 0.5 in start and half width is 1 at the end. So the width would be 1 in the start and 2 in the end. So let's see how it works. So now see, so from the center the polyline evolves, and then you can see that, and now onwards a uniform width of 2 units will be created in the polyline, and press enter. Now this is the geometry that will be created. Now you can create an arrow out of it. Let's say how we create an arrow. So I have a polyline. Normally I use it to create arrows. So let the start point, so it is this point is the vertex. So what is the vertex I will talk about when we'll be doing a polyline modification tool, that is the p-edit tool. So here, so now in the half width, start half width is 0 and the end half width, let's say 0.5. That means the arrow thickness is 1 unit. 0.5 half width means 1 width. So let's say if I have an arrow and I am pushing it in a particular part, right? So this is, you're clicking it here, and then from here onwards the width will be taken as whatever there is in the end of the end point. So now it is, the width is 1 throughout, right? So you can have this kind of geometry, or wide geometry with polyline using the half width. And width is the same. So if you go with the width, you need not have to give the half width. It's just like radius and diameter of a circle, right? So if you do with the polyline and give a start point, and now you see that it is taking the default value of the last width that you had given. So here I am taking a width of, let's say 0.5 units. Now the width is 0.5, half width would be 0.25, and the ending with it, let's say I'm taking a 0.5, that means with half width is 0.25. Now this is a uniform line that will be created. So in terms of in civil engineering, there are utility drawings like pipelines or a line utility cables are marked with the help of polyline and thickness. So let's say if I have to mark pipeline that is going in the site, so I can use a polyline with a width of let's say start point over here, and let's say now the width is 0.5, so I can mark it using the Polyline tool and with the thickness. So that there can be different thickness given to different utilities, like one can be a stormwater pipe, one can be a hydraulic pipe, one can be a distribution pipe, one can be a electrical conduit. So all the pipelines majorly in the infrastructure or a utility drawings are shown with the help of polylines and with the thickness that I am showing. So there are many examples, so we can cover some of them in the practical assignments that we will do. Now the last thing, now we have a polyline start point. So here I go with the width 0 now. So here once I create this, so now you can see, so you have to give both of the width at 0, starting with 0 and ending with 0. So then only you can have the 0 width polyline. So now there is an option called length. So the length option is, let's say if I have a length of 5 units. So what is happening? Line is drawn in the direction of the previous segment. So if I say length is 2 units, now you can see the previous means where the direction of the cursor is. Okay, so let's say if I have the direction of the cursor over here, I go with the length, right? And say a length is 3 unit. So I have the direction of the cursor over here, and I go for a length, and I say length is 2 units. So it goes. So now let's do some example, right, to make it more clarity what is the length is all about, because that's how we use it. So start point, the next point is this. Oh sorry, I have to take a polyline. So sometimes I be confused with the line polyline. So I have got the start point of the polyline, and here I have the length, right? So specify the length, let's say into 3 units, mark, so you can see, right? Now it is coming back. So now you have this length, right? So now you can specify a length of, let's say, 1 unit. So it is going in the direction of the previous lines. Okay, so now here you are, so you have a length, let's say I have a length, let's say length of, let's say 2 units. So now you can see that the more precise you are, sometimes the direction will be taken, or sometimes the previous direction will be taken. Let's say I click it over here, right? I click it over here and I give a length of 2 units. So I can extend it into the direction of the previous line segment. So let's do something like this. I have a polyline, I create it. So I create a line over here, and I want to extend this to a length, let's say I want to of 3 units, and then I go here, I want to extend the length to, let's say, 2 units more, and this is how I work, right? If I want to draw a length, so I will use a @ tool over here. Let's say I want the @3, 0, so I can use the conventional coordinate system to draw the polyline. Okay, so this is how I work. And then if you are mistaken in some time, so you can use an undo command to go to the previous vertex. Now let me give you a brief anatomy of what the polyline is. So the polyline is basically closed geometry consisting of many lines, which is a single entity object. So if you select it, and these points are called, so once you finish it, these points are called vertex. So you can always pull a vertex. So we will be talking about vertex, how we can pull it, stretch it, and make it another geometry. So these vertex are created only in polylines. Okay, so coming back to it, polyline, and the last thing is that is the close option. So it closes the geometry from where the last point is marked. I think we have done a lot about polyline, and we will do some applications later on. In the assignments also, we will give you some assignments. So if you want to do an assignment, let's do it fast. Let's create an section over here, L section with a polyline, and we will find out the area. So I start with polyline. Let's say start point is 1, 1. It starts from here, and let's say the L section, the base is, let's say, 5 units, so 5 angle 0, and then I have @0, 1, and then I have @-4, 0, and then @0, 5, @-1, 0, and then I can go for a close command. Now see, I have created this L. It means that here it is a single object. I can find out the area and the length of the L section, right? So you can do it. Similarly, you can create some circular entities over here. Let's say I created a polyline, then arc. So @0, 3, and here I go for an arc. So here for the arc, I will select, let's say, an angle option. The included angle I will say 90 degree, and so here I go, and so I give an include angle of 90 degree and say at the rate, let's say 0 comma minus 3, so, and press enter. So you can have a D section over here like this, right? Or you can create a inverted D. So you can create another polyline at the rate 0 comma 5, right? And then you can create an A for arc. So you can go so please undo. You can go for A for arc, and then you can just drag the arc to a point, and from here you can go for a line tool, and you say at the rate 0 comma minus 3 and C for close. So this is how you can draw some quick geometries with arc and lines. We will do some interesting. I'm not going more in the arc tool because I would teach you arc later on, and we'll be using the arc tool in the polyline in a better way. Okay, so this is where we end the polyline command, and so we have this width, half width, length, undo, close, direction, half width, right? So these are all the options for radius, second point. So these are the options for the arc, radius and second point, and the width on half width we did. So regarding the arc options, we will do in the when we will cover the arc tool. Now the next options that we will learn is the modification options. So we'll be doing moving objects, we'll be doing copying objects, we'll be doing offsetting objects, rotating objects, and scaling object, along with fillet and chamfering.